Strange, a Garth Marenghi's Dark Place Rewatch podcast. I'm Nick.
And I'm Kim.
And I haven't got any news, like anything.
It got a little. We mentioned Garth Marenghi now has a YouTube channel last time. He has put a few clips from his live shows on there now.
I was always like, yeah.
So if you want to go and see some excerpts from things like The Randy Man, you can go and check it out.
I quite like the way he's interviewing himself.
Oh, with the tape recorder.
With the tape recorder, that was good. And he did do that one live as well, so yeah, it's all very consistent. But nothing new, no new X-Files rumblings, nothing in the world of Garth Marenghi. I've also looking to the future. You know, the Twin Peaks is never going to have any news ever. Because what else?
Especially now David Lynch has sadly passed away.
Yeah, it's like we're going to be saying, well, to be fair, Mark Frost might do something.
True.
That's about it. But yeah, that's no one else. Well, let's get on to our very subtly named episode. So this is The Apes of Wrath, first broadcast on the 19th of February 2004. Guest stars, so Julian Barrett is back again. For some reason, I don't know why he's in this episode, he just is. But also we have Noel Fielding, who you've seen in things, well, might have seen in things like Plunkett McLean, which I didn't know was in that. The Horrid Henry the movie.
Did they make a movie of Horrid Henry?
Apparently so.
Oh.
The Lego Movie 2, the second part. He was Balthazar.
Oh, okay.
He's obviously part of the Mighty Boosh. He's also a semi-regular recurring character in the IT Crowd. He's like once or twice per series. He's not in it much.
I don't know. I think in the second season, Richmond's in quite a bit, actually.
True. I think the second one has his finest moments. It's the absinthe line.
They only drink absinthe.
Carling.
Oh, Carling.
And I think he presents... Is he still presenting the Great British Bake Off?
Yes, I think he is.
That's one of his major other things at the moment. According to this, he's been in some music videos. And it makes sense that this would be one of them, but he's in a Razorlight music video.
Oh, fair enough.
Because that joke in the Mighty Boosh about Razorlight looking for the new sound.
Razorlight must be sunk because the Boosh found the new sound.
Yes, obviously. No, it wasn't the Boosh. It was Rudy and Spider.
Yeah.
The weird, incestuous British comedy thing continues. So would you like to tell us about how wrathful these apes are?
They're pretty wrathful, to be fair.
Are they wrathful?
In our episode within an episode this time, we find Douglas heading to the break room to look for Sanchez, to find that he's kind of hungover and asleep on the couch. He berates him for not being there for the children, at which point Sanchez gets up and pours himself a drink of suspiciously green liquid from the cooling tower. On drinking it, he immediately turns into a kind of Neanderthal man. This fate quickly befalls most of the people inside Dark Place Hospital, including Liz, where, for reasons unknown, people just seem to be regressing into apes. Reed and Douglas both come close to drinking the suspiciously green liquid too, but something always distracts them, or they choose to drink some other liquid like coffee instead. Although Douglas heads to visit the Padre once again, who apparently is an expert in apes, the Padre, who we as the audience see is also turning into a monkey man, is reluctant, let's say, to give it unhelpful. Yeah. Refuses to give any information about what might be going on, other than the fact that he believes that God created monkeys to be man's playthings. Back at Dark Place, Sanchez and Douglas have a one-to-one in which Sanchez reveals that he's struggling to keep his new animalistic urges in check. This is acted upon when Douglas turns his back and is clubbed into unconsciousness by Sanchez. After which he has a surreal dream sequence in which he sees both himself as an ape man and Thornton Reed being chased by a whole bunch of sexy nurses with gorilla heads. When he wakes up, it's a month later, and the hospital now appears to be under martial law, with everyone except himself and Thornton Reed having turned into the ape men. As a incredibly thirsty Reed takes a sip of water at long last, Douglas finally puts two and two together and realises that it is the cooler water that is turning people into apes. Thornton, however, does not turn into an ape as he only took a tiny sip of the water. Douglas heads to the storeroom where all the water cooler bottles are kept, There he witnesses Sanchez holding out a water bottle into which a horrible monkey man is peeing. A chase ensues, and after a lot of very, very impressive action sequences, Douglas manages to overpower the monkey man and kill him. In a very heavy expository voiceover, we learn about how the man was an ape scientist who created some serum out of the genitalia of many different monkey species that could turn a man into an ape. They managed to reverse engineer this to make a cure, and by the point of this epilogue, everyone is back to normal and able to laugh off their horrible ape-related experience. In the outro of the episode, in the interview segment with Dean Lerner and Garth Marenghi, we learn that Liz's actress has gone missing after the filming of Dark Place, and it is heavily inferred that Dean Lerner may be the one responsible for her apparent death. However, they will never find the body. He is quite sure of that.
Thank you. I don't even know where to start with this one because there's so much. I mean, we'll say the one thing is this is the episode with Say the Line, Garth.
Oh, I know writers who use subtext and they're all cowards.
Yes, the most famous line to come out of this series is in this episode, of all things.
Mm.
And it made me think of, you kind of alluded to it in episode 2 with Hell Hath Fury. And it's like in this one as well, Apes of Wrath. And you sort of said at the time, it's sort of an amazing title for it. It's like someone who thinks they're clever.
Yeah.
Doing it. And I forgot to bring it up at the time, but I remembered in the interim, it makes me think of Southland Tales a bit.
Okay.
This is from the second film from the Donnie Darko director before he made The Box. It's basically unwatchable. It's very, very hard watch, isn't it?
It's brilliant.
But it's also the worst thing ever made.
It's the worst thing ever made, but also an essential movie viewing. It's brilliant.
Just be warned going into it, it is not a fun time.
Surrealist film, star-studded cast, is nowhere near as clever as they think they're being.
Or as funny as it thinks it's being either.
Yeah.
It's a very strange film. Anyway, the point of it is, there's a moment when someone quotes, I think it's T.S. Eliot, it's like, this is how the world ends, not with a bang but a whimper.
Mm.
But they do the reverse of it, thinking, this is not how the world ends, not with a whimper, but with a bang.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
But that's not clever. T.S. Eliot said it the other way around for a reason.
You kind of get it within this episode too. I like the bit when Douglas goes into the storage room and he just says, water everywhere, but not a drop to drink. Coleridge, Samuel T. But it's the way you're doing it. It's the pithy line. You don't have to attribute it to who you originally said it.
Yeah, you're not writing an essay where you will have to attribute it.
Yeah.
You just speak out loud.
But again, it's the showing the viewer how clever you are.
Yes. And then massively indicating that, no, you're not that clever at all. Mm. But yeah, Apes of Wrath, terrible, terrible title for an episode that I didn't realise before that... You said as well when we were watching it that this is better than Skip to the Night Yard. It is better than Skip to the Night Yard.
I think it's a really funny episode.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
But in terms of the Dark Place fiction, this episode just self-destructs when you get past the halfway mark. It stops making any kind of sense. I love his kind of hesitance to actually say he's ripped off Planet of the Apes at the start, even though it could be more transparently rip-off.
I like that he mentions a book that he's written that is very clearly rip-off of James Herbert's The Rat.
Yes.
And then he says, it's the same thing but with a different animal, think Planet of the Apes, or something like that.
Don't quite think that. It's like that, but not the same. But no, it is just apes. And I love the fact that when the ad break happens, though, we're missing a lot of connective scenes because Douglas is unconscious. But then nothing comes of it. So you've got the apes are running the hospital and apparently running it better, and everyone thinks just in ape society. And then we just kind of discard that so that Douglas could go to the water storage room and get into that bike chase. And it's like, what about the militarized apes that are running the hospital like literally 5 minutes ago? They've just vanished from the plot.
You also have that degree of, you've got the militarized apes who are essentially humans in monkey masks, and then you have Liz who actually has regressed to being like a chimpanzee.
Yeah, it's sort of everything's so inconsistent. And that's made me think of Lucien Sanchez, the actor, who apparently, upon watching
it's Todd Rivers. Todd
Rivers watching the playback, says, I thought it was going to look bad, but I was watching the VHS, it looks quite good. It's like, Todd, what's wrong with you?
I've got to admit, though, when you saw... It's particularly the transition when Liz slowly turns into the ape, and first it's just her eyebrows, then her mutton chops.
Oh, yeah.
It's very much an old Doctor Who special effect.
Yeah, it's not too bad, but it's ropey. It's deliberately ropey. So, there's a lot of moments to like in this. I mean, I like the fact that as much as they have no budget at the best of times, they can't even afford motorbikes. Like, at all for this. Or they can't get anyone to do the stunt work for this. At all.
The motorbike bit is they're on push bikes, but it's paying like a motorbike sound effect over the top.
And it's all sped up footage, and it's like, if this was motorbike stuff, it would look quite exciting, but it's not.
I also like the bit where Reed pulls up level with the, not the Noel Fielding character, the monkey man, and just pulls out a loudspeaker and does the pull over. Again, it's filling your theory that this is actually should be a police procedural.
Oh yeah, it just goes back to it, and then you've got like the chase of the obstacle course, which is just there for some reason, and the pile of boxes he gets punched into.
But the obstacle course itself is like a kid's adventure playground.
Yeah.
But you've got these amazing shots, like when Garth goes over the monkey bars, he's clearly just walking with his hands on them, with the up-angled shot so it looks like he's hanging. But
he's not doing any sort of acting to sort of make himself look like he's actually sporting himself that way. It's some good attention to detail like that.
Mm.
I always like the bit where Sanchez comes out the operating theatre with his monkey hands and he's killed someone.
Not my fault.
And his basic instincts are to wave his genitalia out the window and just club Garth over the back of the head.
Mm. It also has some tremendously awkward dialogue in there where they keep shortening Homo erectus to Homo and stuff like that to get the really, really ridiculous dialogue that shouldn't have passed an editor.
Yes. We're all homos here or something.
Yeah.
I also like the fact the realization way too late into production that they haven't explained the plot. So at the end of the episode, they have the sped up shots of the bits of Reed's office where they have the voiceover desperately explaining what on earth happened.
It's like Garth talking over the plot at warp speed while it's just showing a still shot of a monster in the corner. Yeah.
And then they've spliced it back with him turning away from the window again just to try and marry it up. But it's that in real life that does happen. It's like, I mean, it's more of a common thing these days when you hear about whatever the latest Marvel or Star Wars has gone in for reshoots. Usually, well, the ideal is meant to be that when you're editing your film down, you suddenly realise you haven't depicted something. Something's been overlooked or something was in the script and you need connective tissue, so you go back and redo it. These days, it seems to be that you show it to a test audience and the test audience hate it, so then you go and film a new ending.
Mm.
But it's the kind of thing that you're meant to do in proper film productions, but Dark Place, again, replicates the fact they have no money to do this. So, yeah, there's no reshoots. They just have to patch it together as best they can.
I guess the time you see exposition like that most in movies is like the text crawl at the start of a Star Wars film.
Yes.
That's... I always... Personally, I find that a bit artless, but it helps put you in the situation of what's happened between the two films because they don't often carry on from each other.
Yeah, well, I think I have a thing about this because there's, to sideline of Star Wars, there's a distinct difference between the George Lucas Star Warses and everyone else's.
Mm.
Because George Lucas put that in there because it's an homage to Saturday morning matinees.
Okay.
And the whole point was that you'd go to the cinema to watch a serialized episode of something like Flash Gordon.
And you'd have the bit at the start that said something like, last time on Flash Gordon.
Yeah, because the chances of you going to every showing is actually quite minimal.
Yeah.
So you've got to be caught up somehow, and that's why the text call was in A New Hope.
Hmm.
And the one thing I always find interesting, though, is if you watch 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it always describes a section between the films that you never get to see.
Mm.
Not true for Force Awakens onwards.
Okay.
Because like Force Awakens and Last Jedi are a day apart from each other.
True, yeah.
Because all the rest of them are distanced by an unknown amount of time.
Whereas, like, for example, at the start of Empire, you have to explain why they're now on Hoth and things like that.
And that Darth Vader has somehow discovered who Luke Skywalker is, that he's looped the Death Star, he's looking for him.
Yeah.
And so on like that. And Return of the Jedi also has the sort of why they're on Tatooine. There's another film or another sequence missing that you have to explain why everyone is where they are.
Yeah.
And you don't get the new ones in the same way.
Mm.
So rather than just go through all the moments of things we liked, we're going to have to go into inspirations for this episode, one of which is really obvious, and one of which you pointed out is slightly more obscure unless you're familiar with
Clive Barker.
Clive Barker. So the big one is Planet of the Apes, and we didn't end up watching it. And I think my justification for this is Garth doesn't actually engage with Planet of the Apes as a concept. He's just taking the look of it. He's not doing anything with Planet of the Apes. He says he is, because he claims he's got his whole meaning behind this episode is if you keep playing the NHS staff peanuts, will they eventually turn into monkeys?
He's a very literal man.
A very little man. Apparently, no one has asked this question before.
I'm not surprised.
No, I'm not surprised either. He's a very little man.
He is a dreamweaver.
He is a dreamweaver. But he's taken... It's like he watched Planet of the Apes once, and like all he remembers of it is apes with machine guns. Or an ape society.
I guess it's the if somehow you are living completely removed from the zeitgeist and don't know the twist of Planet of the Apes by now. But you've taken it on the aesthetics of, it's a human who is being terrorized by these kind of monkey men.
Yeah. And that's all he took away from Planet of the Apes.
Have you seen Planet of the Apes, Nick?
I have seen the Tim Burton remake, which I know doesn't count because it's really bad. But
dear.
I know that
Everyone's seen enough Simpsons episodes to know how it ends. If you don't want to sit through the whole Charlton Heston movie, the best one is still that episode of The Simpsons with Planets of the Apes, the musical.
Yeah, probably.
Which gives you all the important plot beats, and it's actually pretty magnificent.
Yeah, don't watch a Tim Burton film, which is the one I did watch because I thought it'd be okay.
I haven't actually seen them, but I hear the new ones with Andy Serkis are actually really good.
Yes. I keep hearing that as well. It's one of the things where something about them just makes me think, this is going to be such an exhausting experience watching them. They probably aren't. They're probably great, but something about them just makes me think this is going to be tiring. I don't know why.
Andy Serkis is generally excellent.
He is. Oh yeah, and everyone seems to like them when they come out, but I think it's that thing of the zeitgeisty things that don't stick around, like Avatar.
Avatar, do you mean...
The James Cameron Avatar.
The blue cats.
The blue cats. Smurfy cats.
Smurfy cats, yeah. Was that Nostalgia Critic?
I think I was a Nostalgia Critic. But it's that... But people make it a big thing about Avatar after a while, and it's... I know, I think it annoyed James Cameron a bit, and it never stops quite being true, like when the sequel to Avatar came out. Is people go and watch it, sure, but they don't talk about it afterwards. It just drops off so fast.
No, I've got to admit, I've heard very little about... It's not even that new. About a year ago when the last Avatar came out.
And the next one's in the works or coming soon. It's a weird franchise.
I remember it was a big deal when the first one came out and people spoke about it very highly. But again, it's not one of those movies that really persisted afterwards.
No, and I think as well, it doesn't help that you've seen Avatar, the amalgamation of what Avatar was in other things. It's Ferngully, it's Dances with Wolves.
Yeah.
It's any other eco-80s sci-fi piece. It had amazing special effects, although the one thing that got me at the time was everyone kept saying how amazing it all was, and it's outside of a few scenes, it's all CGI or it's all live action. There's very few interaction bits, which is the bit that's actually impressive to do.
Yeah.
The rest of it you can just do normally. And even then, we don't get wildlife special effects in the same way because CGI is too far gone, really, now.
I've got to admit, I was more impressed by what went into Avatar, because at the time it came out, before I saw it, I bought an art book about it.
Oh, yeah.
And it talked about, how they kind of designed the ecosystems and how they'd thought about how different plants would behave and how the plants and the animals would interact and things like that. And that world building is incredible. But unfortunately, it's not the kind of thing that can come across in a 2-hour movie that easily.
No. Well,
it's just all background stuff.
Any length of movie, unless it's a documentary, you don't get that kind of insight to it, do you? It's a weird problem.
So it was really, really impressive for world building, but I think it was just that level of detail just couldn't come across.
Yes. Going back to Planet of the Apes. So yeah, I've watched the Tim Burton one. I feel I know enough about the old Planet of the Apes films. I don't think it would have helped us out because it's Garth Marenghi as a writer didn't take in the point of Planet of the Apes. Or the twist of Planet of the Apes. He took Apes Take Over. I mean, he's basically the Tim Burton remake. Planet of the Apes is what he's kind of veering towards. Because that has the infamous fake out ending with the Abe Lincoln ape statue.
Oh, yes, it's the Lincoln Memorial, isn't it, rather than the Statue of Liberty?
Yes. But you pointed out there's a far more obscure horror reference that's going on here.
I can feel it so badly in this episode, and it is a weird one. But you voiced your feeling that Garth Marenghi was based on Clive Barker, which I don't agree that he's Barker 100%.
No, I wouldn't say he's 100%. I think I think it's quite clear he's a mixed bag of all kinds of authors. There's parts of Clive Barker that's gone into the character. It's not the sexuality, though. Anything that deals with sexuality is not the part that he took from Clive Barker. The gore aspect is.
Yeah.
The gore and transgressive stuff.
Well, Clive Barker's whole thing was kind of mixing extreme violence with sexuality and usually kinky stuff as well.
Yeah.
Clive Barker's books very clearly, especially things like The Hellbound Heart, which became Hellraiser, have that kind of bondage feel to them.
Yeah. And as an aside, I've seen alluded to, there's an essay somewhere that sort of does call into question how good Hellraiser is for gay representation, and it's the whole you're putting all this bondage stuff on the screen in a way that no one else will depict.
Yeah,
they are kind of the villains from the at least the respected films.
Let's be fair, they're the villains from Hellraiser 3 onwards.
True.
They're kind of neutral in the first two films.
Hellraiser 1, they're more villainous. Hellraiser 2, they are kind of incidental, ultimately. Hellraiser 3, yeah, they're definitely the villains in that one. And 4, we don't talk about 4.
The whole point of the Cenobites is supposed to be that they're neutral. They are explorers from another realm.
Yes. And it's just a shame that it's like the Hellbound Heart, they sort of adhere to their agreement in a way they don't quite in the film.
Yeah, the film they don't, and I am not counting the travesty that was the Scarlet Gospel, which is technically the Hellbound Heart sequel, and it is atrocious.
Yeah, we'll skim on that one, because I've only read the synopsis and you sort of spent every line going, Clive, I do not understand your own characters.
As a fan of Barker, I've read the Scarlet Gospel. I question that I'm a fan of Barker anymore.
Yeah.
But anyway, within the Books of Blood, there is a story. The Books of Blood itself was originally 6 collections of Clive Barker's kind of short stories and novellas that all are kind of bookended by a story that's called The Book of Blood and Postscript on Jerusalem Street, which are the kind of 2 halves of the actual Book of Blood story that just bookend the whole thing. But the way the Books of Blood work is it's supposedly stories written by the dead. So it's the stories that the dead, without summarising the entirety of the bookend, the dead are inscribing their stories on the flesh of this man. And the Books of Blood are taken from these inscriptions. These are the tales of the dead. One of those stories, and arguably I would say the nastiest of them, is called Rawhead Rex.
Which somehow is a film version.
Yes, it does have a film version, and it's worth watching it for a laugh, because it was horrendous on release, and it's kind of funny now, because it's quite low budget. But it features the kind of resurrection of a horribly violent demon in a small English pastoral village. And this demon is put off by, essentially held back and defeated ultimately by depictions of fertility, particularly one idol, and it depicts things like the fact that it won't hurt a woman while she's menstruating. It's this level of kind of slightly weird, gross horror that you can imagine Clive Barker touching. But there is one particular scene where Rawhead Rex urinates on a priest. And that sequence with the ape gleefully urinating over Sanchez and the water bottle, it's all I could see was Rawhead Rex. And given the roots of Garth Marenghi, I'm sure that is intentional.
I would be surprised if it was coming from somewhere else. I don't think we've actually had a confirmed bit we could sort of apply to Clive Barker before, so it's like the first one that definitively is him rather than just the amalgam.
That one's particularly fitting for Garth Marenghi because the Books of Blood are variable. Some of them are funny, some of them are a bit lighter, some of them, like Rawhead Rex, are horrendously violent. So, if you're a horror fan, I would recommend the Books of Blood, but maybe take it with a pinch of salt because it initially kind of lulls you into a bit of a false sense of security and then occasionally just hits you with something horrendously graphic.
Which they can't go that far on British TV, but at least they can get to pissing on someone into their water bottle.
It does have one of my favourite short stories of all times in the book called In the Hills of Cities, which is one that nobody ever seems to have heard about. I don't hear people talking about it, but yeah, that one I recommend. Go find in the hills, the cities, because it will live rent-free in your head.
I mean, if they wanted to live rent-free in their head.
Yeah. Especially if you're a Dark Souls fan, you're about to go, oh yeah! Dark Souls 2 specifically, yep. Might remind you of one specific boss.
So one thing that I couldn't remember where it came in, and it turns out it's this episode, is the explanation for why Liz is not included in the interview pool for the series.
Yes, because of her disappearance, should we say.
And that she's like a candle in the wind.
Unreliable. That's my favourite quote in the whole series.
Yeah. And the other, I don't know, it's kind of more the 80s kind of view of things, because there's that comment that Dean Lerner punched one of the child actors for mocking Garth Marenghi's writing.
Oh yes, we have another hammy scene with a child actor, much like in the first episode in this one, with the child thanking Douglas for everything he's done. But then there's a cutaway where Dean Lerner comments that the child made a comment about Garth's acting, so he backhanded him.
It's pretty well, I don't know what I expect from Dean Lerner anymore. Nothing good, apparently.
It's a dual thing of, these were kind of things that weren't acceptable in the 70s, but they were kind of things that happened in the 70s.
Yes, and you get it with a lot of things. I mean...
It's like all the stories about Stanley Kubrick on the set of The Shining.
Yes, and being absolutely appalling to Shirley Duvall the entire time, and everyone else going along with this.
Yeah. It's particularly following things like the Me Too era, where we are more conscious particularly about what the pressures male directors in particular put on women and children.
Yes. I would say, like you said, though, that going back to Dark Place, this is probably the funniest one. And it doesn't, I think it doesn't have any of the weird problems that some of the episodes have. Like, Dean Lerner doesn't start acting randomly halfway through this episode.
Mm.
There are some bits where I thought, is he going to do it again? And he veers off again.
It's got a lot of funny one-liners. And I like it for this series as kind of take on the creature feature as well.
Yes. Yeah, I think it's, on retrospect, it's the only one that sort of is just a monster lurking.
There was a time period when the pulp horror stories did kind of lean into this, where everyone would try and think of a swarm of something you could use. So we already mentioned Rats by James Herbert is actually a really good book, and its sequel Dominion as well. But, that's the idea of, man coming up against swarms of things. I can also raise you slugs and crabs on the same basis, but...
Don't have quite the same menace to them, do they?
I don't know, slugs is pretty gross, but there we are.
Oh no, I'm not going to say not gross, but it just doesn't have the same kind of terror level of it.
No, you think of a creature that you can easily outrun.
Yeah. I like, again, and I think it's going to be just the common refrain through the whole series, is the very clear amateur filmmaking feel to it.
Mm.
I mean, even this one I think is more amateur than normal, because prior to this, the assumption's always been that they had some form of crew doing it.
Yeah.
This episode actually indicates that no, it's Dean Lerner with a camera. Because during the mirror storage, which inexplicably is the same room as the water stored in, we can just see he's there behind a camera filming Garth Marenghi.
Yeah.
And that's really quite astonishing when we sort of start querying. It's like, exactly where did the money for any of this come from?
But we do know they had a crew previously, because in Skipper the Eye-Child they commented about how they cleared the set other than a dozen people for the problematic scene.
Oh yeah, well, we know they have a crew, but I think at some point there was an insinuation that Channel 4 had actually, paid for this.
Yeah.
And I think with that, you would tend to think you'd actually get a proper studio space and some actual professionals. But if Dean Lerner's operating the camera, it's like, no, I don't know how you're funding this or who's actually involved with this. It's a weird thing to sort of fixate on. But it's also like, it's something that Garth Marenghi does as well, though. It's that same quirk that Lemony Snicket has of use a word and then actually explain what it means.
Lemony Snicket is the author, if people don't know, of A Series of Unfortunate Events.
And his real name is Daniel Handler, because we actually do know that.
Yes, but Lemony Snicket has this amazing verbal quirk that you also do get in the film and the TV adaptation, the Netflix adaptation of it, where he will say a word that you very clearly do know the meaning of, and then he will give an example usage of it.
Yeah. And Garth will do the same thing, but then he'll always pause to explain things.
Mm.
But so that kind of amateur quirk that, again, you said an editor would have got rid of, if there was an editor involved. And it's things like that desperation to explain why Thornton Reed doesn't turn into an ape.
He only took a tiny sip.
But everyone has to stress this.
Mm.
And it's
Thank goodness I only took a tiny sip.
It speaks to someone somewhere involved in this chain of making the episode pointed out that and tried to sort of say, but why didn't it happen to Thornton Reed? This has been reinforced to just try and shoot that down.
I also like that bit that they kind of get it out of sync, because when Thornton Reed goes to get his drink, he spends absolutely ages putting ice cubes in, a little umbrella, a little straw, all that kind of thing. But then after he's done all that, it cuts to Garth Marenghi's monologue where he's thinking it through and he realises it's the water. In an actual, better cut thing that would still be terrible, you'd have that chain of thought going while Reed was making the drink, and that would be, just slowing the process down enough to give you this monologue, rather than have the two things separate.
Yeah, well, you'd use that slow motion. You used a lot in episode 2 to make that scene last longer. But you also wouldn't have him do all that fancy stuff.
Yeah.
But as you pointed out, though, it's just the deliberate incoherencies of, I don't want to drink water, I'll have some coffee.
There's the bit as well when they go to see the Padre where he kind of offers them, it's something like coffee, tea or juice. Yeah. And when they ask for water, he says, no, the water's mine. It's like, but you've offered him 3 water-based things there. Yeah.
I mean, if you're being really charitable, and you shouldn't be, you could sort of say maybe boiling destroys whatever component of the water does this.
Oh, you mean this non-specified chemical taken from the gonads of apes and then passed through the balls of a chimp?
Yes.
Or whatever our ridiculous pseudoscience is at the end.
Yeah, the nonsensical stuff. I like that Garth is just unconscious for a month. We've just got a time skip in here. We just aren't handling it as well.
It's kind of weird it takes a month to infect the entire hospital as well when it's in every single water cooler and it takes seconds.
Yeah, and also it's just a luminous green.
I think if you're being charitable, you could say that's for the audience's benefit. And not that they're all drinking this kind of emerald green liquid all the time.
Unfortunately, I think someone does comment on it. I think Garth even says it's green or something.
Oh, does he? I missed that bit.
Pretty sure he does when Thornton's going to drink it. So it's not even... It's the weird metafiction. One really good point, though, I think you actually noted as well, was there's a few scenes of Garth driving in this episode.
Yes, in his weird car.
And you made the startling observation of, where is he driving to?
Oh, that's right at the start, because he wakes up Sanchez, presumably in the hospital's break room, says, come on, we've got to get to the ward, and then the next scene you see him in the car with Sanchez driving to the hospital.
Yeah.
It's like, where is this ward?
I don't know. But the same is true when they go to see the Padre. It's like, he's clearly the chaplain for the hospital, so he's in the same building. Dark Place is not that big a building.
But it's got all this wooded outdoor area around it as well, apparently.
Yeah, it does.
In this one, it's the kind of dehumanization of Liz, because nobody regresses as far. And they even make a comment at the end about how she's the greatest animal impersonator ever to live or something.
Yeah.
Which is twofold. It's either she's the only female character and that's why Garth, as our perennial sexist writer, has dehumanized her more than anyone else. Or it's just that Liz is a better actor than the rest of them and she's getting into the role.
Unfortunately, we'll never know. I mean, I would have said that Todd Rivers is clearly a better actor than Garth Marenghi and Dean Lerner. On the other hand, though, his assertion that the special effects look okay does bring a lot of questions to his mindset.
You kind of get that feel that Todd Rivers is perpetually drunk as well.
Yes. I mean, we got some other, the seedier signs of what it was like behind the camera with, he spent a lot of time with Dean Lerner and saw him make a lot of love and he stood in his living room.
Stood in his living room watching him make a lot of love or something like that.
Like, Todd, what are you doing?
But our biggest concern is still that Dean Lerner has clearly killed a woman.
Yes, and we'll know he'll go to prison. I don't know in the Garth Marenghi fiction if we know why he's in prison.
Yeah,
we just know he is in prison at this point.
Yes, Garth commented on that at one of the live shows we went to, didn't he?
Yeah, and it's consistent between live shows as well, so that's when he started taking questions anyway. So, yeah, we know Dean Lerner is in prison for unspecified offences.
Could be the murder of Liz.
It could be the murder of...
Though he is very confident that no one will ever find her body.
Yeah, that's not creepy at all there, Dean. Well, I don't think we want to speculate on why he killed or why he had her killed.
Poor, it's not menagerie wool, that's what he calls it. Madeline wool. Yeah.
I don't know. I think some of it's difficult because a huge chunk of the episode is taken up with a really strange motorbike chase.
And the action scene with his obvious stunt double.
I do think they sort of... The stunt double was like some shots it's more obvious than others. So that's not too bad in terms of how they've sort of done it. But yeah, at least there's enough slip-ups to the kind of mistakes you would make when doing this.
To be fair, there's not a lot to this episode.
No, I mean, it's very straightforward. It's a misunderstanding of Planet of the Apes, or a sort of lack of grasping the point of Planet of the Apes, and then a bit of Rawhead Rex for flavour.
And his very, very literal metaphor.
And his very little metaphor.
Well, he's not a man who uses subtext.
He is not. That's for cowards. I do wonder if the whole scene... So that thing about Rawhead Rex, I do wonder if the whole scene where they go to see the Padre, who is the expert on apes for no good reason, it's basically just there for, if you are familiar with Rawhead Rex, just clue you in.
Yeah,
the fact you've separated the two things out.
Clive Barker is quite fond of corrupt priests as well. A really good example, Cabal, which was filmed as Nightbreed, has Ashbury.
Yes.
Our priest who is being blackmailed because he's a cross-dresser in the book, but is just our insane Christian in the film.
Yeah.
You always get these kind of... is corrupt the right word? These priests with a background, let us say, in Clive Barker, of they're either entirely untrustworthy or they have some kind of hidden sin or something like that. And you kind of have that in the Padre here. Yes.
And I think you can also point to the incompetent writing of there's a dangling plot thread you kind of need to deal with that you just haven't. Given that, I mean, admittedly, he doesn't appear to be the source, but he seemed to know more than everyone else did, and you're just going to leave that.
There's also that weird reason for going to see him where they say, oh, I'll speak to the Padre, he's an expert on monkeys, or something like that. Why? If the Padre had turned out to be the monkey man, you would have had more of a reason.
Exactly. And it's all, I mean... No, we know full well it's not, but it's one of those you can't then escape the notion that while the Mighty Boosh did not exist, those two were actually doing things together. So Julian Barrett and Neil Fielding, as a duo, to actually make that linkage as well, is probably very intentional outside of Dark Place. So in the real world, Matthew Holness is making that as a joke as well.
Yeah.
This is one of the weirdest things about Dark Place, which I don't think we've discussed very much, is that the multiple levels of it, because a lot of the time we get hung up on the internal Dark Place and then Garth Marenghi stuff. And then there's the stuff around it is generally more of the production errors. But there's presumably, like, having the two Mighty Boosh people in it has got to be a very conscious part on everyone else doing it.
Was Mighty Boosh before or after this?
I think the TV series was after this. I don't know if the radio show existed at this point, but I think they'd started doing stuff together, if not got the Mighty Boosh yet. I'm going to check.
One of the main characters in the Mighty Boosh is a talking gorilla.
That's a good point. Okay, so the Mighty Boosh did start the same year as this, but was afterwards.
Okay. It's kind of just a curio then.
So the next one is Scotch Mist, and it's a peculiarity of, I imagine this is going to be a peculiarity of British culture that isn't going to work out, not be well known outside of it, of that animosity does still, people are still have animosity towards Scottish people for reasons that really perplex me.
It also feeds into the 5 o'clock news voice, to be fair. It's the idea that people on TV in the UK sound a certain way.
Yes, I suppose it's that.
And we will be able to talk about that more.
Yep. If you would like to contact us, our email address is thingsgettingstrange42@gmail.com.
You can also find us on social media, and please do hook me up if you have any news relating to our relevant spheres of interest, so the X-Files, Garth Marenghi, or Twin Peaks at the moment. You can find us on Blue Sky and Tumblr at GetStrange42, and on Facebook by searching for Things Are Getting Strange and X-Files Rewatch Podcast. Additionally, if you're not sick of my voice right now, I stream live on Twitch TV Mondays and Wednesdays at 8 PM GMT and Saturdays at 5 PM GMT under the name Adverse Camber 42. I'm currently playing Yakuza 6, The Song of Life, and Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth Hacker's Memory, both on PlayStation 4.
Our theme music is a vision by Kevin MacLeod. You can find that on Compotech.com, licensed under the Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0. Thank you all for listening. Until next time, please remember, she was like a candle in the wind.
Unreliable.